welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today's video is my wrap with me. You all have asked me to film this video. I have 5 kids, if you didn't know. I'm sitting in my living room right now completely surrounded by presents, so I need to get to wrapping. You all have also asked me a few questions, so I'm going to be answering those questions while I'm wrapping with you guys as well. I'll show you everything that I use for wrapping as well. I have it all next to me right here, so yeah. Let's get to wrapping. These are the papers that I'll be using this year. I have a few different rolls of this black and pink unicorn one. I have this peachy and gold one from the Wonder Shop. These two are from Walmart from last year, and I really do like both of those as well. This was from Target from last year, Target. This is from Target. This is from Walmart from 2 years ago. This is from Target. This is from Target, and this is just brown craft paper from Walmart, and then I have a few extra rolls of the same down there. So that's what I'm working with this year. This is actually my favorite thing to use instead of ribbon, is these rolls of tulle. I get them from Walmart for about $2 for the entire roll, and they last a long time. I also have this huge bowl of ribbon that I like to use, and then here are our tags. We use a different tag for each kid, and this year, like a lot of the years that we've done before, we have individual tags that we made with their pictures on it, so that Jenna and Cruz can tell which present is theirs. Although Jenna can read, Cruz can't, and it's just a fun little touch that we like to add on there. I also have 2 rolls of tape, some twine, some little metal wire that I usually use to attach the tag onto the bow, and 2 pairs of scissors in case anything gets lost. So if you didn't already see my What I Got My Kids for Christmas video, if you're wondering who all of these gifts are for or why some of my kids have more gifts than the others, check out my What I Got My Kids for Christmas video and all your questions will be answered. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this video. I'm going to look at what the first question is, and I'll start answering questions while I'm wrapping. So the first question is, how do you do Christmas? Do you open gifts the 24th or 25th? So what we do is we usually have my family over on the 24th on Christmas Eve, and then we usually wake up the morning of the 25th, and that is actually Christmas Day. And on that day we have a big Christmas morning at our house with all of our kids, and that is my favorite day ever. Is them waking up and just having like just a magical, crazy Christmas morning. And then usually later in the day on actual Christmas, we see Lance's family. That way we're not going 2 separate places. Our kids don't typically open any presents on Christmas Eve. There has been a time that I think the elf has brought them something, and so they've opened something on Christmas Eve. And one time we did a Christmas light challenge with them in our advent calendar, and if they found all of the Christmas light challenges, then they got to open 1 present on Christmas Eve, but they failed, and so they didn't. Although they do typically open a gift or so at our house if my family comes over for Christmas Eve, because typically they do come to our house for Christmas Eve. This year it's going to be a little bit different because my mom is having dental surgery the day after Christmas, and so she's going to kind of be taking it easy around Christmas and kind of waiting for that surgery to get done. And so we're not doing our annual Christmas Eve with my family. So instead we're just having Christmas here at our house, and then the weekend afterwards, after my mom's healed up, that's when we'll be having Christmas with my family, and they'll all come over. I love using this tulle. What I usually do, instead of wrapping it all the way around like a regular ribbon, to save tulle, we just wrap it around once and then go ahead and tie it to put the bow on there, instead of like making a plus sign like you would with regular ribbon. And then after you tie it, you just go around the other direction and tie it on that knot too. It makes a cute little bow. It's one of my favorite ways to decorate a present, and I don't know why, but I always like to have our gifts kind of decorated and not so plain under the tree. It just makes me happy. Stick-on bows are not really my thing. We've had so many come off, between babies and cats and just other presents, kind of knocking them off, that we've kind of given up on the whole stick-on bow thing. So I like to use toll. The next question is, do you spend the same amount on each kid or just get what they want? So we typically, I've gotten this question a lot over the years. Typically, we do not really care how much we spend on each kid, although it was something that was in our mind this year because of the different types of gifts that we got this year. And if you've watched our what we got our kids for Christmas video, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And if not, you should watch that for that explanation. And so because of that, Jenna has a lot more gifts to open than the boys do, and that has to do with the amount of money that we spent on them for their gifts. Jenna's gifts are definitely the least expensive. Jenna and Cruz's gifts are both so much less expensive than the boys' gifts, and so even though Jenna has a large quantity to open, they were a lot less expensive. So what I'm doing is I'm taking Ezra's little picture, since this gift is for Ezra, and I'm using some wire to attach it on there, or I can use some string to attach it on there too. I typically laminate these, but we're not doing that this year. It's too extra. It just doesn't matter. And sometimes we've actually used these little tags that we make over again the following year, but now I kind of like the tradition to where they're just going to take it every year. So I might just stick this little thing on with some tape and call it a day, because it'll just get ripped off with the metal wire that we typically use. See? It's cute. The next question is, what was Christmas like for Lance and I as kids? So in my family, I was an only child until I was like 13 years old. So it was just me and my parents on Christmas. On Christmas morning, typically, it was just me and my parents at my house. And we would spend Christmas morning. My mom would turn on this little bell thing that was on our Christmas tree. It was a bell ornament, but it played music really, really loud. And whenever she turned it on, that's when I knew it was time to wake up. I didn't really wake up first. I would wait for that sound, and then I would get up. We'd probably get up at like 6 and then open. And then open presents. And then Christmas Eve, we would spend at my dad's grandmother's house. For the longest time, she always did Christmas Eve there. And I would have a lot of different presents to open on Christmas, but they weren't like expensive stuff. My family definitely did not have a lot of money, but I do remember being really, really excited about the stuff in my stocking. My mom always put the coolest stuff in there, like bath foam stuff that I'd get to use in the bathtub, and like Barbie perfume and stuff. Just kind of stuff that I didn't buy regularly the rest of the year. And I always really liked that. And nail polish, that kind of thing. Lance, what was your Christmas like when you were little?
We took turns opening gifts.
So he has 2 brothers and 1 sister, and to me, of course, that's like a huge family. So when he told me about how they would all take turns opening gifts and watch each other do that, I knew that that was something that I wanted to implement for our family. And if you've watched our kids opening Christmas gifts videos, which we typically post each year, our kids do that, where one of them opens a gift at a time instead of it just being like crazy chaos. And I love that our Christmas morning goes on for like hours. I don't know why. I just think, I don't know, it just seems magical. So that's where that kind of came from. But what were your gifts like as a kid, babe?
I would get like a Super Nintendo game, or like a board game.
So like how many gifts would you get?
Like 3 or 4.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think I did too. I think I got like probably 4 or 5.
Probably like 2 or 3 gifts, and then usually like a gift for the whole family.
Oh, that's cool. One time I got a Super Nintendo, and I think it was for me and my dad for Christmas. The next question is, what do you want for Christmas, or what are you getting yourself? So I don't really know what I want for Christmas at all. I love Christmas because I love picking out presents and giving presents to people. That's my favorite. And I didn't really think of anything that I really wanted, although our vacuum cleaner stopped working a few weeks ago and we ended up buying ourselves a new vacuum cleaner, but we already have that. So it's not really a Christmas gift. And then like a week ago, we bought ourselves a faux insert for our fireplace, even though we have a gas fireplace. We live in Texas and it gets hot here, but I still wanted the ambience, am I saying that right, of what a fireplace looks like in my living room. Ambiance of what a fireplace looks like in my living room. So we bought that for the family too, kind of like an early Christmas present because I wanted it for the holiday season. But other than that, I don't want anything for Christmas. And I definitely don't buy myself things for Christmas. That's not something I've ever done. Although, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The next question is an update on Cruz. So, Cruz is doing really well as far as his development and stuff goes. He's meeting milestones. He's doing cool new stuff. He is stacking up stuff really well, and he's saying a few words. I still worry a lot about his walking because I wouldn't say that he's walking, and he's 18 months old, but that's his real age and not his adjusted age. Obviously he was born almost 3 months premature, so things are going to be a little delayed. But I will say that I'm really worried about the way he walks, and I don't know, there's always something I worry about each one of my kids. So far, I think that everything I've worried about all the other kids was for no reason. So I'm really hoping that I'm wrong about this. But I have convinced myself that Cruz has hip dysplasia or something because his legs are really far apart when he walks. And he only takes a few steps, even though he can stand up in the middle of the room all by himself. He is just really, really reluctant when it comes to walking. And he hasn't walked yet, and his legs look really, really far apart when he's walking. I have not taken him to the doctor because of COVID, and because I'm just not convinced that that's a problem right now. I'm going to give him a little bit more time. Evan was born premature, not nearly as premature as he was, and he did not start walking until he was 18 months, even though all of our other kids were much earlier. So I'm going to give Cruz until his adjusted age at 18 months, and then if he is not walking, then we'll take him to the doctor. But right now, that is not something I'm willing to do because I would not be comfortable going out or anything like that right now. And there's a lot of exercises and things that we can do with him at home that we're already doing, and he's doing well. So I'm going to give him a little bit more time. But just so you know, in the back of my mom brain, I am concerned about that. I wish that I wasn't, but I am. But he's doing really well. He is very sweet and happy and incredibly stubborn. He is not a crier or a screamer or anything like that, but he will open every single drawer in my bedroom and take out every single pair of pants and clothes in every single drawer faster than any of our other babies did. I don't know how I never baby-proofed our drawers, but apparently that is something that we need to do because that drives me crazy. Whenever I put up my clean laundry and then I'm working and Lance is washing them up there, and it just, no matter how hard Lance tries, it just happens. So he's doing well. Some people have assumed and even told other people that the reason we do the rainbow tree is because we've had a lot of miscarriages. If you guys didn't know, I have had 7 miscarriages. At one time we had 6 in a row. It was a hard period of my life, but that is not why we do the rainbow tree. It's just part of our family traditions at this point. Although it is true that we have had our fair share of losses. That's just not the reason that it's our family's tradition though. Our kids really love it, and 2 of them have had projects at school where they've had to pick one tradition and explain it, and that's one that they like to write about, so I think they really like it. Oh, I love it when there's a scrap of paper that's the perfect size for a gift. It makes me so happy. All right, next question. How hard is it to decorate that tree? It's awesome. It's not that hard. Sometimes I have dreaded it in the past when our kids were little and I just had to do most of the work. And it does take a while because you have to separate the ornaments out if you don't store them separately, which we don't. We store them all together and then separate the colors out every year. This year I went to pick up something. I can't even remember what it was. I came home and the kids had completely done it on their own, and I was a little sad about it because that's our family tradition, but it's really their tradition. And now we have 2 trees. We have this one in the living room and then the rainbow tree that's in our dining room. So yeah, they did it all on their own. So that's how hard it is. Not that hard. I think Jenna was like the leader in it too. She loves separating things by color and doing things like that. So it's really not that hard. The next question is an update on the game room. Will you show us it and the reaction? So today, I think, wow, today was a long day. Today we had some people come, our second set of people that we've had come to cut apart and remove the hot tub. The first people just could not do what they told us they could do, and they left and never contacted us again. And so we contacted this guy that does a lot of our work around our house. Like he does our power washing and things like that. He lives in our neighborhood, and he came over and took care of it today and hauled it all off, which was a big job because it was a huge jacuzzi in our sunroom. So that got done, and then I was gonna tile the floor, but then him and his wife were here and they would do work like that, and I was like, hey, do you guys want to come and tile the floor for us by any chance? And they're like, yes, absolutely. And so since they wanted that work, we hired them to go ahead and tile the floor where the hot tub was. And then the rest of the day that I was not working, we spent trying to find the exact same tile that we had used a few years ago when we originally changed from indoor-outdoor carpet to tile in those rooms whenever we were buying the house. And thank goodness we found it, even though I was really losing hope that we would find the exact same tile. And we bought the grout and everything, and so they're gonna come over on Tuesday and get that started, and it'll probably take about 2 days to get it done. And yes, we will show you guys their reactions when we do the Christmas morning video. I'll show you guys that. And I'll put a tour of the game room in then, or we might do a separate video showing you guys the whole process, because it's quite a transformation we're doing in there. There's been a lot of stuff we've already done and some stuff that those people are doing for us, but I have been recording throughout the whole process. So I don't know if I'll make that a separate video and like upload it the next day or something, so you guys can see the whole entire process of converting the sunroom into the game room, or if it'll just be all in the same video. So I don't know about that. So as you can see, I am not one of those people that use one wrapping paper for a kid. I like them to look and kind of wonder like, ooh, which one's mine? I like a variety of different papers under our tree, so I just kind of mix it up. Although I really don't like red. I try to stay away from red, but we'll see if I have to use it. This is my favorite paper. All right, next question. What's one thing you do that annoys your husband? Work too much. He is now asleep on the couch waiting for me to tell him that I want him to help me wrap the presents. But one thing I do that annoys him definitely is work too much. Sometimes what I do after work to reward myself after work is do more work that I haven't had a chance to do. For instance, right now I am working technically, even though this is, I mean, something for a family. Still, it's just one more thing that takes me away from being 100% focused on our family or something else. So yeah, he would like me to not work as much. And I also have this really bad habit. Something else he hates is, not hates, I shouldn't say hate. Something else he would probably say annoys him is that when we're sitting on the couch watching a show, if I'm drinking a drink, instead of using a tray like a normal person, I will put my drink in the corner of the couch cushion. I don't know why, I still think that's a good idea. And then one of our kids, like Cruz, will come and jump and try to sit by me, and then I'm freaking out because the drink has spilled all over me. So that probably annoys him, but he doesn't complain too much. The next question is, what was your childhood like? My childhood, so my parents are married. They have always been married. When I was really little, we lived with my grandparents in a trailer in Houston until I was 2 years old. We lived with them because a tragedy happened in my mom's family right before I was born. And so my dad and my mom moved in with my grandparents to help support them through that. It was really bad. And then once I was 2 years old is when they decided it was time enough for them to move on their own, and we moved into a house in Houston in what later became a really bad area of Houston. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was the only one that worked. We were definitely not wealthy. My parents' money was tight, and my dad was the only one that worked. And I spent every single weekend with my grandparents, either my dad's mom or my mom's parents, which I was really close to, my Mima and Peepaw. They lived in the trailer, and it was at this place that was like surrounded by lakes, which I loved. I grew up fishing so much. My dad is a huge fisherman, but my grandparents lived on the lakes, and so all I would do was just fish and swim in the lake too, which was really gross. But I did that a lot, and so I knew how to like pull out a boat and get into the boat by myself and fish. And I became really good at fishing with a net. Seriously, I would have considered that one of my talents when I was like 12 years old, because I am really good, or I mean, I haven't done it in forever. I was really good at fishing with a net. I don't know why I'm using pink. Ezra would not appreciate that, so let's try again. But yeah. So later on in my childhood, something really bad happened, and my dad's mom was murdered, and I was like really close with my grandma too, and that was like a defining part of my childhood for sure, because that's really traumatizing, and I was actually supposed to be with her later on the day that it happened. And then everything kind of changed after that. Like, stuff just got harder, and it was hard for my parents, and I don't know, it was just a tough time. Soon after that, our home flooded, and we never moved back in our home, and my life was a lot different after that too. The weekends I still spent with my grandparents, and my grandpa would take me to, I don't know, he called it like a beer joint. I don't even know, do people say beer joint? It's like a karaoke bar. We would go to a karaoke bar every single week, and I would sing my heart out. I would sing all the time. Everybody knew my name. they would cheer for me so much. And you guys, I am not a good singer at all. But that's what I did for fun, definitely sing at karaoke bars all the time. And yeah, that's what my childhood was like. And lots of bike riding and go-kart riding with the neighborhood kids. One of my best friends lived across the street from us, and I had other friends that lived in our neighborhood too. One of them had a huge family, which I loved to be with. So even though we were going through hard times at my house because of the loss that we had gone through, that was always fun. That was a bright spot in my life. I also was with my cousins a lot since I did not have any siblings until I was almost 13. My mom had my brother Alan, who is 12, almost 13 years younger than me, and then I just took care of him. And that's what my childhood was like. And lots of school stuff. I was active in a bunch of stuff at school, so I would say that's what my childhood was like. During the summers, I didn't spend much time at home. I was usually with my cousins and my aunt and uncle, and we would go to Astroworld with my aunt and uncle, and I have a lot of happy memories there and spending time with my grandparents. All right, next question. I love seeing people's Amazon purchases. What are your most recent ones? Okay, so first of all, I update my Amazon store all the time. I usually link it at the bottom of my videos in case you're ever interested in cool new things I buy on Amazon. Funny thing is that I am the 8,000 something, what do they call it? Top reviewer on Amazon. So I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, and I'm literally on their top reviewer list. So we get a lot of stuff from Amazon, can I just say? And my Amazon purchases are really interesting because not only do we not leave the house because of coronavirus and because of Cruz's medical conditions, I also send a lot of stuff to my new employee, the girl that teaches with me. So I send the most random stuff you would never think to her house because she needs it for teaching. So like weird makeup she needs for some of the classes we teach, just all kinds of stuff. I send it to her house. So if you scroll down my recent Amazon purchases, they look crazy. It's like glitter and tiara and what else? A magic wand, a backdrop, a bunch, like a computer, a document camera holder, dry erase markers, like all this random stuff are some of my most recent purchases. And then of course, tons and tons of presents, and our fireplace came from Amazon. I don't know, I buy my whole life from Amazon. Anything I can't get from Amazon, it comes from Walmart delivery or Target shipped. So honestly, like everything comes from Amazon in this house. All right, next. Future plans. Is your home now your forever home? So this house, I would say we love our house, especially since we were able to renovate the whole entire first floor all the way up to the ceilings after Harvey, because our home flooded with 5 feet of water and we got to design everything. So I really like our house, especially because of that. Truth be told, our family is a little bit too big for our house, not because of square footage, but because of number of bedrooms. There are 4 bedrooms in our home and we have 5 kids, but we don't want to move at all. However, our house has flooded before now that Harvey happened. People always say that it was a once in a lifetime thing, and I pray that that's true. If our home floods again, and our kids are still kids, that takes away so much of your life experiences. Like your life just kind of stops for a while with them. Much like COVID, but worse. Much worse than the COVID lockdown experience. It's much worse than that when you're rebuilding your home and you're displaced and living somewhere else. So because of that, if our home were to flood again while our kids were young, then we would definitely move. I don't know that we would move otherwise than that, because we like a lot of the things at our house. We got to pick them out, and we're not looking to spend that kind of time renovating another home with as many kids as we have. So recently, after completely renovating this one, and I know, and Lance feels the same way, that we would have to do so much to get another house the way that we like it, because this house is so unique. It has a lot of cool features. I'm not saying it's perfect, but we are really happy at our house. There are things that we want to do here to make it better, and we have plans to do that, but we don't have plans to move right now, even though lots of people have speculated that recently. Although with a big career change like what I just did, it's not easy to get approved to move unless you're paying for a home in cash. And we are not paying for a home in cash at this point. That's just not what I'm interested in doing. This is a really oddly shaped gift, by the way. And it's hard to answer questions thoughtfully while I'm wrapping, but I hope I'm doing a decent job for you guys. All right, next question. What jobs have you had? So my very first job was at the mall. I worked at Aeropostale, like the first year Aeropostale opened in our area. I had never worn Aeropostale. I didn't even know how to say it. I thought it was called Aeropostale. But I worked there as a sales representative and a cashier, and I was hired during the holiday season, and that's when I was in high school. I think I was 16 years old. I couldn't even drive. I don't know why I got a job, but I don't know who took me to work. I got rides from friends to go to work, which wasn't even that close to my house, but I was just determined to make some money. So I did that, and then after working at Aeropostale, I stopped working because they hired a bunch of people at the same time, and there weren't enough shifts, and so I was like, oh, I'm not making any money. So then my next job was at the Sears jewelry counter, where I sold wedding rings and watches and things, and that was kind of cool because you had to operate all these pedals down by the jewelry counters, and you had to like hold it down, and these alarms would go off all the time if you did it wrong. That was kind of cool. I liked working there, but it was at a it's at Greenspoint Mall. If you guys know anything about Houston, Greenspoint Mall was my second job. I was a teenager. Greenspoint Mall, working at the jewelry counter with high price items. So that was not my smartest idea. Nothing bad happened. I worked there for a while, and then I went off to college and obviously quit my job because we moved to Huntsville from Houston, which is an hour away. And my next job was I did some transcription from home, and I worked for this company called CHATTY. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's like where it was before Google was like really big, or it was for people that didn't know how to Google, or like if they were driving somewhere and they needed to know an answer, they would use CHATTY for their answers. And so it was a human-based search engine where people would type a question and it would go to a human, and the human would look up an answer and reply back to the person what their answer was. So that's what I did for a while. And I did transcription too, where you listen to recordings of all kinds of stuff, usually like court cases, usually like medical stuff, and then you just type whatever it is that you hear. I was an independent contractor for them. Later on, when I was in college, after Lance and I got married, I worked at a sports bar and grill in Huntsville. It was called Zach's. It was amazing. If you've ever been to Sam Houston or Huntsville and you've ever eaten at Zach's is seriously amazing. It's a family-owned restaurant, and I worked there for years. I met lots of my college friends from there, and last night, I kid you not, I had a dream about working at Zach's. The stress of waiting tables is something, let me tell you. But yeah, that's what I did. And then after that, I worked as a SAT prep tutor for a little bit, working with high school kids, because I got a really good score on my SAT scores, and that qualified me to do that after I took some tests. So I did that. My next job wasn't until close to graduation and after graduation when I worked as an applied behavior analysis direct therapist with kids with autism. And then later I became a regular teacher, and I worked as a teacher for 9 or 10 years. And then I became an independent teacher, and then I made my own organization and hired another teacher to teach with me, and that's what I do now. I'm the owner and lead teacher of an independent virtual educational organization and a YouTuber. I think that's all my jobs. Next question. I want to hear all about your teaching business. Oh, okay. So I don't really know what you guys want me to say. I work a lot. I start working in the morning around 8 a.m. and I teach a bunch of classes, and then I take a break at noon and eat for 1 hour, and then I teach again a whole bunch of classes. Most of the time I teach until 6 o'clock and then have a break, and I have another class at 8 o'clock at night. And I teach all different ages from 3 years old all the way up to 18-year-olds, and I teach different subjects. And I teach online via Zoom. And I'm my own boss. I'm now the owner of my own company, and I have an employee that works with me, another teacher that I trained, and I developed all the curriculum and stuff on my own. And yeah, that's what I do for my job. I don't know what else you guys want me to say. I don't really know what else I'm comfortable sharing. I don't want to be like, this is the name of my business, because people on the internet are weird sometimes. Usually most of you guys aren't, but every once in a while I have a weirdo that like wants to ruin my life. So I do get a little bit nervous sharing too much about stuff that could literally affect my family. But that is what I do, and I absolutely love what I do, and I'm so thankful for the opportunities it has brought my family this year, especially with all the other changes that everybody's gone through with COVID. Next question. I just wanted to let you know, after 3 boys, we finally got a girl due in April. Your videos helped us gender sway. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to tell me that. I love hearing that. If you guys don't know what gender swaying is what we did after we had Evan, Brady, and Ezra. By the way, we had no fertility problems at that time. Well, I did, but I didn't know about them really. I kind of knew about one, but I didn't have any problems with my getting pregnant or anything, so I was like, okay, maybe that's just not gonna affect me. But I knew I had low progesterone, and at that point it didn't really cause any problems really. So anyway, after that, we decided to gender sway to have a girl, because I just knew that if we did not have a girl, that I would be depressed forever, because I wanted both a girl and a boy. So when we were getting pregnant with Brady and Ezra, we tried different things. We tried the Shettles method, like timing and ovulation and stuff, and that did not work. And so I did a lot of research after that of different ways to gender sway, and we found some stuff that worked. We got pregnant twice with 2 different girls. We got pregnant more than twice, but at least 2 times that I know were girls, because we had testing done to know, and I was far enough along with them. One of them we lost at 13 weeks. It was terrible, and the other one was Jenna, but we had both of them through gender swaying. And if you want to know exactly what we did that actually works and is like research proven, and there's studies online where you can see the percentage of people that has worked for, and it's the highest amount out of anything that people have tried. And if you try Clomid at the same time, it increases your chances of having a girl even more, by the way, which I did do that as well. But that information is inside of a video of mine called, I think, 10 Times the Charm. And it's all about miscarriages and gender swaying to have Jenna. So I really appreciate people that take the time to let me know when I've helped them. That means so much to me, because that's why we started our YouTube channel, because I've gone through so many things in my life. Although it doesn't feel like that every minute of the day now that I'm on the other side of it. Sometimes when I'm filming Q&As like this and you guys ask about it, it reminds me of the things that we have overcome, which are great. And I'm just so glad that it helps someone else. So congratulations on your precious baby girl. I'm so happy for you, and thank you for taking the time to let me know that it helped. I felt like a crazy person recording that video telling you guys what we did with gender swaying, because it was not really something people talked about. It's still not really very much talked about, and it is controversial in some circles, but it is what we did, and it really can work. Next question with tape on my fingers. I watched your chore video. Do the kids get a debit card you use with the app that you use to pay them? So no, they don't get a credit card. That's not what we wanted. There are different apps that allow them to have a debit card to use, but we wanted something that was the least cumbersome. We want them to be able to pay us and us buy something for them offline, instead of having to sign in with 3 different debit cards and us having to do checkout with a bunch of different kids at the store, which we used to do whenever we paid them cash. We just used the app because it was like a checking account where you can look and see the history, and you can easily put in the amount that they were withdrawing or depositing, and it also taught them those words, which I thought were good for financial literacy. But that app stopped working. They updated it and it never worked the same after that. So what Lance and I use now is we use an iCloud note, and we just use our calculator on our phone to subtract it, and we just change their balance on the iCloud note. And the reason we use an iCloud note is because it's connected on both of our phones. So if he updates it, how much money Evan has in his account, it's already on mine right away since it's connected with iCloud. And so that's just what we use now to keep track of how much money is in each person's account. And if they get paid money for their birthday or something from one of their friends, they just give us the money and we put it in their account into the app, so then they know how much total money they have. They do ask us about once a week how much money they have because they forget. But that's their allowance app, and also the app that they use whenever they're given money that they spend. It's not a real account though. If you have more questions about that, you can go back and watch the chore video because it goes into a lot more detail than what I just did. The next question is, who was your first celebrity crush? I feel like you guys have asked me that before. My first celebrity crush was Charles Barkley in the Space Jam days. And actually right before Space Jam 2, I used to watch the Rockets big time. I watched a lot of basketball when I was hanging out with my grandpa. I told you guys I was over there all the time. And in like 96 or 94 or something, the Houston Rockets were like on fire, tearing it up. And I loved Charles Barkley, which is crazy. After that, my next childhood crush was Taylor Hanson. I loved him, and I even had like, I don't know if you guys know about Hanson. I hope you don't, because this is really embarrassing, but I loved him, and I've had a big crush on him, and he had a long piece of hair in his hair that was like, he had long hair anyway. If you know who Hanson is, you know that they had long curly hair. He had a like a rat tail, he called it, a longer piece of hair, which is just gross. It's really disgusting when I think about this. But so I did that. I cut all my hair except for one piece of hair that I kept in a braid all the time, and it was longer than the rest of my hair, and I wore it to school and everything because I loved him, and that's really embarrassing. My cousin Brittany loved Hanson too, and she's the one that introduced me to all that goodness, and so it was just a cool thing to do. Charles Barkley and Hanson were my jam for a while there. Very strange. What a crazy question you guys asked. All right, next question. Kind of random, but how did you come up with your kids' names? I have no idea. We just picked names that we liked. I picked Evan's first name, and then Lance picked his middle name, Parker. Evan Parker is his name. And then Lance picked Brady's first name, and I picked his middle name, Jackson. And Lance picked how it was spelled, which I don't like how it's spelled, but his name is spelled with an X, and I wish it was spelled traditionally, but I had just had a baby. We hadn't decided what the middle name was, and I was like on morphine and opiates, and anything he said sounded amazing. So I was just like, yeah. I picked Ezra's name. I love the name Ezra so much. Lance picked his middle name, which is Kai. Jenna's name, we had no name for her. I don't know if you guys know, but we were told she had a chromosome disorder when I was pregnant with her, and after everything that I went through trying to have her, after I found that out, I just did not let myself get close to her, I guess you could say, and so I did not name her, which is something I don't know, that's sad to say. And so when she was born and she was just so perfect, it was just like such a blessing. And so we just kept saying names. We had a list of like 10 names that we thought were okay, but none that we really liked, and we just looked at her for 2 days. She had no name for over 24 hours, and we just kept saying names and looking at her until one sounded the best. And Cruz, I picked Cruz's name. Actually, I absolutely loved the name Cruz, which so many people on here have given me crap about, but I love Cruz's name. I love it just as much as the rest of our kids' name. If there's a kid of mine's name that I regret the most, it's Jenna, and I don't really regret it, but I'm just not as in love with her name as I am with especially Brady, Ezra, and Cruz. I really like those names. Evan's pretty cool too, but yeah. Least favorite kid name would be Jenna. Do you have any pets? We have 2 long-haired white cats named... Lance is snoring, sorry. We have 2 long-haired white cats named Nikki and Ella. Nikki was mine and Lance's first pet. After we got married, we got her like a month after we got married. And we've been married for 13 years, so she's getting up there. She's the sweetest cat. Both of our cats are pretty good. Ezra absolutely loves Ella. But when I was like 27, I suddenly developed allergies to pets, which we already had Nikki and Ella. So yeah, when I was 27, I suddenly developed allergies to animals, especially dogs, and my cats, which is really sad because we love them. And it's really weird because I grew up with animals, both dogs and cats. Not really dogs in the house, but cats in the house for sure. And it never bothered me until I was 27. And so now I'm allergic to cats. So even though I love our cats, they do mostly live outside. We let them inside like once a day to hang out with us, but it makes my eyes itch a lot, and I sneeze a lot, but the main problem is my eyes. This is so itchy. So whenever they're outside and I'm hanging out with them outside, it doesn't bother me at all. But it is a problem. Next question. Is Christmas hard for you at all? Many people feel sad around this time, so I'm just wondering. Yes, Christmas is hard for me. As I talked about earlier, I was really close with my Mima and my Peepaw growing up. Like, I feel like I did so much in my life to make them proud. Like, they loved me so much, and I loved them. I loved spending time with them so much. And a few years ago, not a few years ago, it's been a while now, when I was in college, my Mima died unexpectedly. She was only like 60 something. It sucked. And then 2 years later, my Peepaw had been telling me that his back really hurt. I took him to the hospital for his back hurting, and then I never got to bring him home. Like, he was diagnosed with multiple myeloma cancer in the hospital, and that's what was causing his back to hurt, and it was all over his body. It's like a blood cancer. And so he passed away, and it was before Jenna was born. He absolutely loved my kids so much, you guys. And so it was when it was just Evan, Brady, and Ezra. Jenna was not born yet. And I just feel like he would have loved our family so much. He would have loved the house that we live in right now. He would have been so proud of us. So I do get sad around the holidays about them not being there, because they would just absolutely love our kids so much and be so proud of me. And I wish so much that they were here. And then last year around this time, just a few days ago actually, was the 1-year anniversary of my cousin Brittany passing away very unexpectedly. She was 36 years old, and she passed away. And so yes, let me tell you, the holidays can be rough. I'm very blessed to have our kids though, and they keep me super happy, and I look forward to Christmas morning so much. So I'm super happy around the holidays, but they are hard for me because of the people that are not here with us that I feel like should have been with us. An easier question: how are the kids doing with virtual learning? So the kids are doing okay with virtual learning. Every once in a while, our kids got straight A's this last 9 weeks. They've gotten straight A's all year. I think maybe Ezra's gotten 1 B, like an 89 or something. He's our 3rd grader. The other kids are higher in grades and they're still getting all A's. So I'm really proud of them. There have been a few days earlier in the year where they could not take attendance correctly, and so they would be at all their Zooms, they would do everything right, and they would not press some stupid button for attendance, and then they would be counted absent. And I've talked about this before, but our kids are considered transfer students because they are in the district that we are not zoned to. They go to the district that I worked for because that's where their friends are and that's where I want them to go to school. And so because of that, they have a lot more strict rules that they need to follow, or else they'll be asked not to. They'll be forced to have to go to a different school and not be able to go to school with their friends. So whenever they don't take attendance, that is a sure way to get kicked out of the schools they go to. So that's been a struggle. But other than that, it's been fine. I mean, they're not perfect. There are days when each of them have not watched the video that they're supposed to have watched. And then they're like trying to do the assignment and they're failing miserably and just faking their way through it, and that drives me crazy. But they're getting good grades. They miss their friends a lot. Their teachers are all changing right now because our kids are still doing virtual learning and most kids aren't. There's a lot less kids doing virtual learning now in Texas because nobody's staying home, which is fine. I'm not judging. So this next semester, once they go back to school after the new 9 weeks, it's going to be completely different because they're going to have completely different teachers. We're going to have to know a whole new routine all over again. So that sounds fun. What's something that's been in the news lately that's stuck with you? There's been so much in the news lately. One thing that I feel like personally affects me is there's been a lot in the news about the death penalty, and I touched on earlier actually about the fact that my grandmother was murdered when I was a kid. Like someone broke into her house and brutally murdered her and robbed her, and then that person was given the death penalty and soon after executed and put to death while I was still in school. Just a few years later. It all seemed like it happened very quick. That did not bring any peace to me at all, and I have a hard time deciding personally if I feel like the death penalty is right or wrong, because what that guy did is terrible. He took away a person, a wonderful person from my life that I needed and I could still have now, and that's just terrible. But also putting him to death did not give me peace. And I don't know about my family, how they feel about it or anything, so I don't really know how I feel about that, but that's just something that's been in the news that has affected me. Oh my gosh, can that not make that noise? That is something that's been in the news that has affected me. But we don't watch the news in our house. We do read news articles. We don't watch the news at all. My mom watched it all the time when I was growing up, and I learned at a very young age, and like I would tell her, like, Mom, this is entertainment. They're blowing things out of proportion. This is not accurate. I knew that when I was little, and so I do not trust what is on the news at all. We do not watch it ever, and I also don't think that it's appropriate for my kids to hear it. All right, next question. How is Lance doing as a stay-at-home dad? So he's doing well. He takes care of all the kids' schooling while I'm working, and he takes care of a lot of stuff around the house. He usually makes dinner for us, and some days he makes lunch for us too if he feels like it. He does a lot. He does not struggle with doing that stuff. What he struggles with is the fact that he feels like he's not contributing, I think. And so he probably will get a job outside of the house, but he doesn't need to, and I don't really want him to. But I also don't want him to be unhappy either, so he's just gonna do whatever makes him happy when that time comes after COVID is not as big of a concern to Cruz. Supposedly when he turns 3, his lungs will be a lot better. Cruz has chronic lung disease from prematurity, and he usually wheezes all the time. You guys, for the last like 2 months, he has not been wheezing, which is the first time in his whole life that he's not been wheezing, and he's never really even been sick, so we don't know why he wheezes all the time. But he hasn't been wheezing all the time, so that's great. But yeah, so when Lance is comfortable, he'll probably get a job outside of the home. He might end up teaching where our kids go to school eventually when it is time to go back, just so he's close by them and he can pick them up and bring them back home. And it just makes sense for our family, but we'll see about that, because right now, I mean, he really just does not need to work, but I want him to do whatever he's going to be happy with. The next question is, what are your guilty pleasures? So one of my favorite things to do is just Netflix and chill with Lance and watch a whole bunch of Real Housewives. That's one of my guilty pleasures. I've not seen all the different seasons yet. We watched all of New Jersey while it was coming on. And Lance watches this stuff with me too. It's his guilty pleasure too. He's sleeping right now, but let me tell you, it's his guilty pleasure too. We watched New Jersey and Beverly Hills, and we recently watched New York, which was really good, and now we just started Atlanta because everybody says it's the best. And I also want to watch the new one about like Latter-day Saints or something. I saw someone talking about it on Instagram earlier, so that'll probably be my next one after I get done with Atlanta, if I actually get done with it. We're on season 1 right now. I don't have that much time. But yeah, that's one of my guilty pleasures. And my other guilty pleasure, oh, I have two more guilty pleasures. The next one is McDonald's. I love McDonald's. I literally DoorDash chicken nuggets at least 3 times a week. I love them so much. So that's another guilty pleasure. I think I am addicted to them because I like to get different dipping sauces, and I think I'm like addicted to the buffalo sauce at McDonald's. I know this is gross. It's a guilty pleasure. I know it's wrong. And the other thing, which is also really gross, I can't believe I'm telling you guys this, is that I love the way Cruz smells. Like his natural smell, I don't know, I love it so much, to the point that sometimes I will purposely not bathe him so that he can continue to smell like that, instead of it being washed completely away and he just smells like baby wash. Next one, did you do well in school as a kid? So I was kind of, yeah, I did do well in school as a kid. I did not go to school in the best area. I definitely went to public schools. I told you guys my family was broke. We lived in a bad area. I went to schools that probably most people would consider kind of rough, but I did do well in school. I was in the gifted and talented program in school, and I did well. And when I was like in 4th grade or something, they decided that I was going to do science fair and history fair because I was in the gifted and talented program. Okay, cool. Science fair was okay. I like to do that, and every once in a while I went to the district or regional science fair. With history fair, I did multimedia presentations, and I just like fell in love with that. That's how I learned to do so many things on the computer. That's how I learned like Photoshop and video editing and stuff, like actually on Adobe Premiere, not like what I do now for my YouTube channel. A lot more detailed editing I did when I was like in 7th grade than what I do now for my YouTube channel, not gonna lie. I love that so much. We went to state competitions and national competitions for history fair, and we did really well, which was great. But because of that, my teachers would let me not come to class. First of all, I did not go to history class for, I'm not kidding you, like 3 years. I did not go to history class. They would just let me go into the library or something by myself and work on my history fair project, which I did do, but I had no idea what was going on in actual history. I mean, I learned a lot of the stuff that I was interested in, but I don't know a lot of stuff that I probably should about history. So that happened. And also, I missed out on some stuff that happened in math because I didn't have to go to math a lot. And so I was in the gifted and talented program, so I was in the advanced placement with math and stuff. And these teachers just kept passing me even though I had no idea what was happening because I missed some things during those years when I wasn't required to go to class. And so then I was in high school and they still placed me in like calculus, pre-cal and calculus, and I was with all these kids that were all so smart. If you went to high school with me, what you didn't know is that in intermediate school and middle school, I literally did not go to math at all, and I missed something. And even though it was great and I won awards with history fair, I had no idea what was going on with math. It was actually really sad. So I did not always do good in math. Later on, I mean, I would make like 40s on my tests. And my teacher in high school that I had 2 different years, her name was Miss Halliburton. And I'm pretty sure she thought it was because all I did was pay attention to my boyfriend who was in the class, which is Lance, who was in that class, which is true. The real reason I was failing is because I was missing some things. So anyway, in college, in a how to teach class, somehow I figured out whatever it was that I was missing, and I went on to become a really good math teacher. That's what I mainly was when I worked in the public school. It's what I did when I won Teacher of the Year. Like, I am a good math teacher, you guys, which is something that I never ever thought that I would do because I thought I was terrible at math. I know this is personal, but do you and Lance ever have disagreements in front of the kids, and how do you handle it? Honestly, I think we've had one disagreement in front of our kids ever. And I know you guys are probably gonna laugh, but I'm serious. And it was actually not too long ago. It was during COVID. It was after I decided to quit my job. It was just a stressful time. And we disagreed about something in front of the kids. And it was just not good. It's not, we're like constantly on the same team. We do not really argue that much. I mean, usually it's a joke if we do. We're usually on the same page about mostly everything. Not to say everything's perfect, like there are things that we get upset about, but we don't have disagreements in front of the kids, and we just talk about them and fix them later on our own. I would not recommend disagreeing about much in front of your kids. As the kids get older and they get to the age of our kids, like 11, 10, and 9, trust me, you need to be in a united front anytime you can, because those kids, man, those kids. What's something you've done that you're not proud of? Ooh, good question. Let me think about that. Oh, that's kind of like a deep question. One thing that I'm not proud about is what I did during Cruz's pregnancy whenever I was, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes I put my job, I prioritized it wrong. Forgot to give myself some injections I should have given myself during his pregnancy. I mean, I gave most of them to myself, but my doctor thought that I developed an allergy to them. And so I started giving them to myself every other day instead of every single day. And he was like, well, it seems like everything's fine. I mean, I had so many ultrasounds and everything looked okay, but it wasn't. I definitely regret that, because guess what those injections were for? They were for his placenta. And his placenta is what abrupted when I had him. But also when I was having preterm labor, and I started going into labor at 28 weeks, or I did go into labor at 28 weeks, and I had shots to stop it and stuff. At that point, they gave me an ultrasound several times, and my placenta was fine. And at that point, I was in the hospital for 5 days or 7 days. They would not let me have any injections that was for his placenta. And I regret so much not going home and getting those injections and giving them to myself there, because a week later my placenta did just completely fall apart and become abrupted. And I wish that I would have done everything I could have to prevented that. But that could have meant that I would have hemorrhaged and bled to death if I would have had to have an emergency C-section that week. So, I don't know. But I will say, one thing I know for certain is that I'm not proud of leaving the hospital with preterm labor because my doctor's like, oh yeah, you're cleared to go to work. And me going back to work knowing how much stress I put on myself at my job. No, that was not a smart decision. I should not have gone back to work and then ended up having him a week later. I'll never know if that's why what happened or not. But I definitely am not proud of that. I'm sure there's more things that I've done that I'm not proud of. Something I don't like, that I like cringe about myself, is I guess with YouTube, like, and this is just part of the YouTube culture, like some of my old videos, I just don't like the titles sometimes when it seems like so clickbaity. I hate that. That makes me not proud of myself when I make a video and it has like a clickbaity title. I don't like that. Next question. Are your kids really as well behaved as they seem? So Jenna is absolutely like the most well-behaved child I have ever known at her age. She's 3 years old. You guys, she is like seriously so good. She is an angel baby. Not to say she's 100% perfect all the time, but almost 100% of the time she's almost perfect all the time. Seriously, the easiest kid ever, the best little listener, best little learner. She's a good kid. What we do with her, I think I've showed you guys before. We have the I gave a suggestion about this in the distant learning, like what we do for distance learning. I talked about it in there, but we do Class Dojo for her. We have a Class Dojo account for our kids at home. We don't really use it with our older kids right now because they have allowance and stuff and all this other stuff that they do. But with Jenna, we still use it religiously, and she gets dojo points for the good stuff she does. And whenever she gets 20 dojo points, she gets to redeem that for a prize. We put prize stuff in the top cabinet in the kitchen, and she gets to pick whatever she wants when she has 20 dojo points and she cashes them in. And she earns dojo points with behavior and also academic tasks, like when she writes letters in her dry erase book and stuff, and I think that that's made her super good. Cruz is not super well behaved, but we'll work on that later. They're all really good kids, honestly. Yeah, they probably are as good as you guys think that they are, but they are not perfect. We're all working on ourselves. They all have things to work on. Somehow, I have done a much better job on my Q&A than I have on my wrapping, which is the opposite of what I expected. you guys watched my what I got my kids for Christmas video, you know that I went crazy on Polly Pockets as well. I found them on super sale the day before Black Friday mostly. So I split them up. I put half of the Polly Pockets in this box and half of them are saved for Jenna's birthday. It's cold outside, but the fire keeps us warm. We can spend the night beneath the mistletoe. It's cold outside, 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 outside. It's cold outside, outside, outside. Cold just finished wrapping every single gift that's not from Santa or something that needs to be put together, and it is now 3:50 in the morning. I cannot even believe it. I am beat, but I do hope this provided some motivation for you guys if you haven't wrapped yet, or maybe you wrapped along with me. Thanks so much for watching this. If you enjoyed any part of it, please give me a thumbs up on this video. If you have any questions for me, you can leave a comment below and I'll get back to you ASAP. This is what they're looking like so far. I hope you all have the best holiday season ever. Bye guys.